Okay, and I am going to start now because I can. So, all right, I hope wherever you're at, we watching this video that you are enjoying yourself, having a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful afternoon, morning, wherever it is, and I hope that you are just relaxing a little bit. And I got my tea ready with a little something added to make it a little bit better. And today, so we finally made it. We freaking made it through all of the spiritual laws, and finally we reached spiritual law number 7. Finally got through it. And so this is the law of genders. This is going to be definitely an interesting one. So let's just get into it. I don't want to have it go on too long. So definitely I'm inside today. It's a little bit warm where I'm at to sit outside. I didn't want to just do a whole sweat fest again, even though I love the sunlight. And the birds are also not being fed for most of them. They're on a break. They're on a timeout. I'm trying to space it out again because I mentioned that there was a finch eye disease going around. So I try not to have them at the feeder now as much as I usually do. I try to give them a break. So I haven't fed them for a while. So it's a little quiet out there. Everybody except the hummingbirds. The hummingbirds are quite content and they have their sugar water, but everybody else gets a timeout for a little while. So here we are, week 7 or video 7 in the series. And now we're talking about the law of gender. So this is an interesting one. So the law of gender, okay, let me see if I can find how the Kybalion actually even talks about it. So what is the law of gender according to the spiritual text, the Kybalion that we are all about? So very timely for today is Friday the 13th. Chapter 13 is the law on gender in the Kybalion. It defines it as such. It says gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. It continues to go on saying that the great 7th Hermetic principle, the principle of gender, embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, that the masculine and feminine principles are ever present and active in all phases of phenomena on each and every plane of life. So I think this one is definitely interesting. And right now we're we're having a whole renaissance and a whole revolution on gender. And I think actually it's time. And it's very, very interesting. Even for someone who, like me, I consider myself to be cisgender woman who has never felt out of place in her with the gender that was assigned to me at birth. I've always felt at home in that. Even for someone like me, I really, really find this time interesting. I know there's a lot of pain also that's coming up and a lot of struggle with people really saying, like the label that you put on me is not okay. This isn't who I am, and I need to address you in order to live fully. But also at the end of the day, when we push through all that pain is beauty, the beauty of true expression, the beauty of true identity. And the fact that, yes, nature is not binary. There's so much going on when we're talking about our identities, even bodies, even energy, even sex. There's so many other things that are going on. And we've oversimplified sex for a long, long time. And we're finally starting to revisit that and push back on that. And I think it's for the best. I think it's going to be absolutely great thing for mental health and emotional health moving forward. And what's great is all of this that's going around as far as the talk of gender and how people identify themselves when it comes to gender. It makes you realize that gender is more than just body. It's more than just your genitals. It's more than just your body parts. Gender is so much more than that. It has everything to do with your true nature, your personality, how you want to be expressed in the world. Also with your style, your personal style. It has a lot to do with the type of people that you want in your life, the type of people you're attracted to, the type of people you want to attract. And it's such a complex thing. And and some ways it's crazy because this book is kind of a little bit, it's kind of like it's ahead of its time in a way, and that is treating gender as an energy and not just as a sex. And it even makes the distinction. I'm sure if I can find it. It's a pretty long chapter, but it does make a distinction saying it is not the same thing as sex, that this is another energy altogether. And what I like too is the fact that it kind of reminds us that because gender is an energy, it is something that can actually is prone to changeability. It's something that's prone to flux. It's something that can be applied to a situation, withdrawn from a situation, and etc. Now, one thing I will say, obviously keep in mind, the Kybalion, ancient text as it is, was released way back in 1908. So, obviously, you're talking about was Jim Crow era at the time, even though this is a book of freedom and a book of new thought and a book of philosophy and all that regards. At the end of the day, you have to keep in mind that obviously, even within enlightened minds, there was a certain structure in place, and it is, of course, binary. I mean, it really talks about masculine and feminine, and talks about the two sexes. So it kind of, can kind of be problematic in that regard as far as bringing it forward into the 20th century. But what I do like about it, for all of that, its mistakes of bringing up gender in that binary sense of saying, oh, there's only one or the other. It kind of works with gender in a sort of alchemy, stating that they can be blended together. You can apply masculine energy to a situation. You can apply feminine energy to a situation. And it also, again, kind of ahead of its time, implies that, yes, even if you are a man, you can certainly benefit many times from applying feminine energy to a situation, and vice versa. And of course, this is something that I believe in 1908 was pretty dangerous to say as far as that goes. So I think it's definitely quite interesting. So so even if you consider yourself to be like me, a cisgender person, and and if you're not sure what that is, cisgender means that you identify as what you were born with, the gender that you're born with. So if you, for example, you were born a female and never changed, and you identify as a female, then you're considered a cisgender female. So even if you're like me and you never felt the need to really question or explore your gender, this time is just so enriching and empowering, because even though I consider myself to be a woman, it brings up the fact that I can benefit so much from masculine energy. And that oftentimes my lack of being comfortable in masculine energy can actually get in my own way and cause a lot of freaking issues. And what I love about this time is it actually is, I see when I see, especially people who were not traditionally born as a woman, wearing the gender of female so proudly, so strongly, like so beautifully, to such effect. I'm like, well, goddamn, like I want some of that. Like I want to be a woman. Like, you make this look so fun and so amazing. And I really love this whole renaissance that we have on gender, just because it starts to share and starts to really let people be who they want to be. And it can teach us how to be better versions of us. And it can really teach us on what we have and our powers and our toolkits that we're kind of not using correctly because we never really saw what we had as a power and a strength. And sometimes it teaches other people to pick up that identity and wield it to be like, yeah, you guys are awesome because look at all this that you can do. And I never looked at it that way. I never took such pride in my own gender and my own identity, and it's wonderful. And now I feel like I'm like, God, yeah, it's awesome to be a woman, isn't it? Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for reminding me that. Thank you for saying this is something I'm going to fight for, and actually come out, and something that, even though I wasn't handed this at birth, I want to embrace this because it's so awesome, and I think it's wonderful, and there's so much to learn. Yeah, and also, again, it just reminds you that this is something that you can play with. This is energy that you can apply. And it also can be a mental energy as well. And the Kybalion has a little bit to say about that. They actually there's actually a chapter. It gets its own chapter, chapter 14, on mental gender, which is interesting. And it says, this idea of mental gender may be explained in a few words to students who are familiar with the modern theories just alluded to. The masculine principle of mind corresponds to the so-called objective mind, conscious mind, voluntary mind, active mind, etc. And the feminine principle of mind corresponds to the so-called subjective mind, subconscious mind, involuntary mind, passive mind, etc. So again, this basically speaks in masculine and feminine and binary aspects. Though I don't believe that we should shy away from using it, because I also believe that the fact that they're kind of wear it as an energy and have it be very fluid, I think is something that we can all learn. And of course, a little caveat on the masculine and the feminine aspects. Of course, this goes by the traditional aspects of what masculine and feminine means. We know that, yes, there can be stereotype to that. Yes, you can be a feminine person and the most baller, like aggressive, like out there, like loud, boisterous, active, sweaty person ever. Like, it doesn't matter. However, for sake of classification, and we're not classifying people here, we're simply talking about energies. It really benefits us to be able to classify things so that we can make sense of things, so we can know what we need to do, what action we need to take, what we need to bring in. So for the sake of classification, and it gives a certain definition to masculine, which tends to be traditional, active, conscious, planning, strategic, more aggressive, more penetrative, more forward focusing, more chasing. That tends to be seen as more masculine, where feminine is the traditional aspect of more receptive, more passive, more intuitive, more in one place, and more of an attractive and magnetic energy. And this is something that I love to that I really follow along with, especially in the world of tarot. Tarot is definitely very much in that same sort of traditional esoteric masculine, feminine sort of alignment. And I love it because, again, having that energy, regardless of what you call it. And a lot of people have actually they've shied away from that, calling, for example, something more aggressive and action-based masculine and something more receptive and magnetic feminine. There have been some other names as well. Some people just like to go yin and yang. Some people just like to call it aggressive versus passive, receptive versus what's the opposite of receptive? Penetrative, I guess. Some people just like to call it that because they like to shy away from the traditional names. But I like those traditional names. I use them, and definitely with the cards, I think it's a lot of fun as well. And it's funny because when I really like this and having these things classified, because when we are stuck in life and we seem to be spinning our wheels a lot and not moving forward in the way that we want, then this energy, masculine or feminine energy, can actually give us options for creating change. Okay, especially if it's something that is in opposition to what we usually do. especially if something that is in opposition for our usual reaction. So definitely in business and whatnot, I'm having to call upon more so my masculine energies. I am usually someone who is okay with just being. My favorite thing to do is nothing. My favorite thing to do is literally, I mean, I like to read. I like to watch scary movies, and which I'm gonna do. I like to have a little drink, and that's about it. But I think it can be uncomfortable for me to actually to step into the more masculine aspect of my energy. And that's actually, I feel like, is a lot of what's called for. But yet that is too is an oversimplification of often what's needed for me to get out of my stuck energy. Sometimes going total, bull action mode is actually too much. And that's not what's needed. Sometimes I need to blend the two. And I need to like blend a little bit of action with a little bit of waiting and listening. And it's all an alchemy. It's all just trying to find the blend. But one thing that can really help us to get unstuck is to ask yourself, what sort of gender energy, traditionally masculine, traditionally feminine, would applying that in a way that is perhaps not necessarily in your nature, would that help? And that's why this certainly will work for us on the microcosm scale, like in your life on an individual basis. But it's definitely what's needed, I feel, in the world on a macro sense. We have been, pushing forward in a very, very masculine dominated world, too masculine, and it's causing us issues. It's been causing us issues for a long time. And at the end of the day, it can really destroy us. And that's why I feel like this whole gender redux is really important, because it is absolutely defining, like, yeah, you can be a freaking man, an absolute masculine man, but some femininity in the energy is some receptivity, some passivity, some introspection, some following your intuition and actually honoring that is needed for us to all be safe, for us to all take care of each other. And I think that that's something that's good. Females as well. You know what I mean? A lot of us, or as women, we're in this position because a lot of women have settled too deeply into their femininity, into the receptive, passive part of our nature. And we have become co-conspirators in a lot of our own undoing and our own shackling, and stepping into being comfortable with the more masculine energy, such as aggression, such as being able to stand up for what you want, being able to, I always forget this word when I go to grasp it, but basically standing up for yourself, wanting to go after things that attract you. These sort of things are needed in with feminine people, 100%. And it will make us all healthier and save all of us in the end. All right. And before I go, so one thing that too, and it's funny because even though I kind of think about there's technically two genders, energetic genders, masculine and the feminine. This obviously, as you mix and blend and move things around, there's actually, even when I'm looking at the tarot, there's technically, I kind of feel like there's four. I feel like each suit kind of has its own version. Like there's two versions of masculine. I feel like there's two versions of feminine as well. And there's balance in all of them. Like there are four suits in the tarot, and I tend to equate a gender with each one, but a different type of gender. For me, wands are subconscious masculine, which to me is definitely masculine, but it's a side of masculine that actually is very instinctive. It's very intuitive, that follows its guts, and honestly is probably a warmer aspect of the masculine. To me, wands is subconscious feminine, and that is where you get your super feminine, super soft, very intuitive, very passive, feminine energy that gets things through attraction, through magnetism, and through surrender, and just saying, here I am, and just letting life come to you. To me, swords is the conscious masculine. So it is a masculine again, but unlike wands, it is more of a strategic and a more aggressive and kind of a very warrior masculine energy. So it is a little colder. And to me, I see a lot of how the corporate America is set up, and how like, we have too much of this energy in our world. In other words, like we need to actually pull back on that. But that's sort of the harder, more warrior-like aspect of the masculine. And then we have the Suit of Pentacles, which to me is the conscious feminine. And it is feminine, but again, it is about that very productive and creative aspect of the feminine. One that makes, and that still has a little bit of planning. So even though she's feminine, she also is very much a worker and a creator. And there's different aspects of gender. And any of these can come into play, and can use some of these and discard some of this. And sometimes this is too much. Sometimes this is what's needed. But it just reminds us that gender isn't everything. And gender is an energy that flows, just like any other energy, like love, like money. It comes and goes, flows back and forth. And it's something that can be used, and something that we can actually keep in our repertoire. All right. So I think that's really all I wanted to say on that. Yeah. So I do believe so. In summary, I think this is wonderful of all of the questioning that we're going through again in life. And also, speaking of gender, speaking of the feminine, today's the last day to enter the review, the Life Change Now review contest. So you have until the end of today, Friday the 13th, 2021. And then the winner will be chosen at random. I'm going to pick a winner who has entered by clicking on the click. And you will get this little combination. You're going to get the Judith Orloff's book, The Power of Surrender, and The Power of Surrender cards, also by Judith Orloff. And these are some awesome. These cards are some of my absolute favorites. I've used these a lot. And this is, typically associated with traditional surrender your fear of change, feminine energy. All right, so these are up for grabs. So make sure you enter, all right, for your card and book. And I will send an email out probably Sunday or Monday by the latest. And just letting you know who has won. So thank you so much, first of all, for everyone that has participated, and everyone who especially has left a review. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. All right, so that's all I have. So we will see you next time. Good luck to entering the contest and learning how to step into more feminine energy, speaking of the law of gender. And next time, we're going to talk about putting all this stuff together for better emotional health. So we went through a lot of laws, but for example, how do you run? What's the point of all this? Like, how do you run these through if you have a problem or you run into an issue? So we'll talk about that next time. So be well, wherever you're at, enjoy, be safe, and remember to change your life. You must first change yourself. And we'll see you next time. All right, be safe. Take care. Bye.